Leslie, welcome back to Philosophy Talk.
Thank you, and it's great to be here.
We're going to talk about Dunkirk and The Darkest Hour. Tell Josh and me what you thought of those two movies, and which did you like more?
Well, so they're both exciting. They're both really well-made movies. One is about the heroism of the little guy. One is about the heroism of the big guy. And as adventure movies, they're both fantastic. They're differently fantastic. Dunkirk, how it uses time and visuals, is absolutely stunning. The Darkest Hour, how it uses the parliamentary intrigue, the image of Churchill and the little guy in London, that's terrific.
Yeah, that's one of the things that struck me about Dunkirk, that you have three stories happening on three different timelines. So you have an hour in the life of a pilot, you have a day in the life of a small boat owner, and a week in the life of soldiers on the beach. And that's quite nice. I mean, it sort of implies that wars actually happen on different timescales, or the things that are important in wars happen on different timescales.
Oh, that's a really nice observation. I hadn't really thought about that part of Dunkirk. But all those points of view that you should talk about share that they're not at all from the big global political situation. I mean, I think the word German is pronounced exactly once, right? Because the Dutch guy on the boat, there's a Dutch guy on the boat, and they say, "Are you a Kraut?"
He's a German spy. Don't be daft. Have you noticed he hasn't said a word?
You're daft. Tell him.
Yeah. Tell me, Gibson.
Tell me!
Say him, for God's sake. Frosty. Just with Frosty. A frog. A bloody frog.
Germany's referred to the as the enemy, and the enemy is never named. And moreover, the word Hitler is never uttered, never once. So it's really, really focused on that beach and what's happening on that beach. And it could be any beach in any war at any time.
And it's not just that Dunkirk isn't about Churchill. It's also not about Hitler.
Right.
It's not about the important single individual, whether positive or negative.
Right.
Although remember that at the very end of Dunkirk, there is the read of the speech from Churchill, which suddenly sets it in the context of what's happening.
Right. It's striking that both movies end with Churchill's speech, with Gary Oldman giving that speech. It's so stirring when he delivers it, and the soldier just quietly reading that speech on a bench.
We shall defend our island whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields.
And in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender!
Of course, there was a third movie about Churchill last year, as though two weren't enough.
I don't actually think The Darkest Hour just plainly presents Churchill as just an unmixed great man.
Right.
He's mercurial.
Oh, no, that's right.
He's mercurial. He drinks all the time. He doesn't even understand what he's facing. That is, he thinks this isn't a real invasion.
Not a real invasion. No. As long as their tank crews are not supported by infantry units, they are merely little flags stuck on a map, because the tank crews cannot support themselves. No, I refuse to see in the spectacular raid of the German tank a real invasion.
He does not understand the speed of the German army, which the Brits were not prepared for.
That's right. He doesn't understand the lack of preparedness of Britain, and he also doesn't understand the extent to which the decisions that were made for appeasement had actually bought Britain some time, but maybe not quite enough time.
The Halifax Chamberlain side is actually powerfully presented, because they think what you have to think, that Britain is about to lose its entire army, right? And the Germans are going to invade Britain, and they are not going to be able to stop them. And if they don't do something, make some concession, they're just a conquered people, right?
That's
so
right.
what do we do? And they keep saying, look, Churchill, you got to come to terms with this guy. And that's not a silly thought.
No, it's not a silly thought. And there was this huge history of Churchill as being a loose cannon.
Right. I mean, his reputation was not at that point a reputation as a successful leader in war.
There's a nice sequence of scenes in the movie when he's named prime minister. People are whispering in the hallways, he did this, he did that, he did that. Like, this guy's a disaster. But he was right about Hitler.
Yes, if you do believe something about what the role of an individual can be in history, particularly with his use of words and his ability to inspire, Churchill probably made a critical difference to whether Britain fell.
How many more dictators must be wooed, appeased, good God, given him mixed privileges, before we learn you cannot reason with a tiger when your head is in its mouth?
So I'm going to make you guys fish or cut bait here. If you had to give a Dionysus award to one of these two movies, you could say, I'm not going to give it to either, but I want you to justify your choice of Dionysus award to X, to Y, or to neither. So Leslie, let's start with you.
So I would give it to Dunkirk precisely for the reason Josh developed a little while ago, the way Dunkirk layers the way war appears in the lives of people at different levels. The ultimate speech and the British people, and suddenly bringing it back into the context of the war that was going to go on.
Okay, so just I want you to give me your best case that Darkest Hour deserves a Dionysus
Okay,
award.
one reason I think that Darkest Hour appeals to people in this particular moment is that I think we have a nostalgia, whether mistaken or otherwise, for a time in which there was a strong, charismatic leader who could actually lead the fight against the forces of darkness. And, this is not, well, you don't have to talk about the current situation in this country, but you think about the situation in Britain today around Brexit. It just feels as though there's a complete leadership vacuum. So one of the things I think that Darkest Hour does really well is present a picture of how an individual who's actually not in any way perfect, a deeply flawed individual, can nonetheless rise to the occasion and provide a kind of moral and charismatic, inspiringly moral leadership for a nation that desperately needs it.
I think, you know what? Neither of these movies on its own gets it completely right. Dunkirk too decontextualizes it. I mean, it's important. Men at war is important, but men in this war is really, really important not to lose the context. And The Darkest Hour tries to do this thing about how Churchill connected to the British people, went over the heads of his own party and reached out to the people and drew inspiration from them. But it does it in such a ham-fisted way. These scenes of Churchill driving through the crowds and these people, the British people going about their thing with determination. And then that absurd underground scene.
Yeah.
That's just absurd. Okay. But here's what you can do on a philosophy movie. You can make the Mariological sum. Take any two things and combine them, and you'll get a new thing. So I want to give a Dionysus Award for the richest investigation of the drivers of history to the Mariological sum of Dunkirk and Darkest Hour.
And if, which I do not for a moment believe, this island or large...
This island or a large part of it was subjugated and starving. And our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British
and guarded by the British fleet. But
and carry on the struggle until, in God's good time,
the
the new world with all its power and
with all its power and might, steps
steps
forth
forth
to the
rescue
rescue.
and the liberation of the old.